So, Nirmala Sitharaman, the Finance Minister of India, is all set to present the interim budget in a few minutes from now. She's made it very clear that this is the interim budget. It's vote on account, so there are not going to be any spectacular announcements. But 2019 precedent makes us think otherwise, because 2019 saw the announcement of the Kisan Samman Nidhi, which subsequently became the most important flagship program of the government for farmers. So there are many speculations as to what kind of relief measures could be announced, and how would the government make the new tax regime attractive. Will it simplify processes, or will it introduce relief measures? Naari Shakti has been the flavor of the season. So what is it that women can expect? And more importantly, what are we going to do to ensure that we keep meeting or at least reducing our fiscal deficit? What about infra? And what about rural India and skilling and digital India? Many questions out there. All of that will be answered in a few minutes from now, few hours from now. 11 a.m. is when the Finance Minister starts reading out the budget. I have with me Sajjan Kumar, who is an academic researcher and also a political commentator. Sajjan, thank you for speaking to NDTV. So the politics of this is also very interesting, because this is the first budget in the new parliament. Yesterday, Draupadi Murmu spoke very eloquently on the highlights, on the achievements of the government. Prime Minister made it very clear that he's very confident about a third term. So how do you see the symbolism of this, and what do you think could be the expectations around this interim budget?
Yeah, generally being the interim budget, expectations are low, and the government has also indicated that no spectacular announcements. But interaction with the market reveals one thing, that usually February happen to be a volatile month because of lots many anxieties, lots many uncertainty about the announcements are there. But this time, if you see, the anxiety is less, reason being that there seems to be some sort of a confidence in the corporate world about the political and the policy continuity. So this may be a time wherein government will not come with a big announcement, but will lay down the visions. Now, which sectors will emerge as the central sectors? One could be the big push is going to be into the rural landscape of India in terms of the infrastructure. That is one. Two, it could be about the kind of continuity of the policies, which is about the welfare schemes, housing for all and other measures, empowering measures, and that is a sentiment positive measures for the sector, and electorally also very important. Third, we are expecting that green energy is going to be
Of course, we've had this biofuels and solar alliance, and there are so many international commitments that India has made with respect to G20 platform and also COP28. But Sajjan, the government of India review also says that 45% of India's workforce is in agriculture. So, like you said, rural India is something that is also waiting with a lot of expectations.
Yeah, Vasudha, see, 45% of India workforce is still in agriculture, and one of the push is that rural is not entirely agrarian. Rural India is not just about the agrarian sector, and therefore you need to create infrastructure and other empowering infrastructural measures so that a section of the rural people workforce also doesn't migrate, but within the rural scape shifts to the non-agrarian kind of sector. And that is one of the things that we are expecting, that government is going to go for a massive infrastructural push in the rural India, and along with and that will empower automatically the poorer section of the women, Dalits, OBCs, tribals, and lots many other sort of things. So this is one sector. Also, this is a time, mind it, wherein government may lay down the vision that may be executed in the July. Once the new government is formed.
Right.
And that way we are witnessing that along with the smart cities motto, you also may get a hint like something like the smart villages.
Right.
And that is something also that corporate and the market is also looking, because the urban and the metropolitan areas are almost saturated, and rural push is going to be. So you talk about the Nari Shakti, you talk about weaker sections, you talk about the farmers, you talk about the rural landscape who are non-farmers also.
Right. Sajjan, there's been a lot of expenditure on spending on infra. But, if you look at both investment spending and government spending on infra, that's been growing. Yeah. But what about private spending? And, that's also connected with our fiscal deficit. And that is something that I know a lot of government officials have been worried about. We have a very good tax buoyancy, and that is why we have been, meeting our targets. Do you think that is something that the government will be interested in? Because we have seen huge, expenditure allocation for infrastructure in the last few years, and do you see that paying off, for the government?
This is exactly paying you because it is creating a positive impetus for the private spending also, investment also, because there are two kind of things. One, the infrastructural base should be there for the private investors and private investing. Second, there should be a kind of continuity and certainty about the political and policy continuity, which is the case. And that is why you see even in those states which used to attract very less investment, say for example Uttar Pradesh, right now if you go into the corporate sector, there is a huge interest and huge investments are expected to arrive there, land there. And similar sort of push is expected into those states, except for the southern and the western states. You see, the central, eastern and the northern states have been attracting very less investment, and that is why this is new area wherein the infrastructural push is happening, and the kind of big expressways, the kind of other electricity, and along with that policy continuity, along with all that also you see the kind of law and order plank that is there. Right. And that certainly has started attracting investment from the private sector, and that will also boost the consumption kind of ratio by the general people, which is which market is concerned about.
Yeah. Sajjan, Nari Shakti, like I said, has been the flavor of the season. We saw EPFO make this wonderful announcement that government employees, female employees can also nominate their children. That looks at different diverse families. And also we saw many ministries come out with this thing that even highway workers, female workers need to have maternity and miscarriage leaves. Now, these are wonderful progressive measures. And clearly there is a lot of emphasis on self-help groups. Yeah. So you look at the Jan Dhan accounts, almost 58% belong to women now. So government seems to be working in the direction of ensuring that there is more women participation in labour force. But if you look at data, it's the urban educated women who are also falling out of this whole workforce. What do you think is happening? Is there any politics in that? Are there any social conditions which are sort of driving this?
The reason is simple. The urban and metropolitan women workforce which is getting away is an impact of not government policy, but because of the post-pandemic scenario wherein the corporate sector is yet to recover the kind of losses. This is one. And therefore they have to go for the lay-down measures and cutting the workforce, etc. But on the positive side, if you see, there is also another push that is coming, especially for the rural landscape. The good politics never used to be good economics. That was the common wisdom. But now you see the good politics and economics both are in sync. And that is why the kind of expectation that is happening when the government policies and the economic measures wherein the gender is becoming default unit of inclusion analysis is also paying rich dividend to the party and the ruling politics in terms of electorally. And that is why in rural areas you find that politics and economy are in sync, be it women, etc. Urban areas, because it's most about the post-pandemic kind of a shock that the corporate and the market witnessed. I think that will also be recovered in due time.
So will good politics also lead to good economics? That is what we will be seeing in a few minutes from now. Thank you, Sajjan, for joining us.